How's it going, guys? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. In today's video, I've got 3 topics to cover. The first one is revealing why the Steam Deck is so dominant in the world of handheld PCs. The second one is that it's about to get a lot easier to mod your games on the Steam Deck. And finally, Valve just gave us a great tool to see what the top played games are on the Steam Deck. Before I jump into it all, I'd love to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. I'm pretty far off, I know, but help me get there by subscribing and setting your notifications to all. I think like 80 to 90% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so that's why I'm doing a sub shout out. Anyway, let's jump into this first news story here because it's something I've been thinking about a lot because there are so many competitors to the Steam Deck and none of them really seem to be catching on in nearly the same way that the Steam Deck did when it came out a little over 2 years ago. So you've got the ROG Ally, you've got the X coming out, you've got the Lenovo Legion Go, you've got a million different Aya Neo devices. There's like even Android competitors really if you want to do the Ein Odin or whatever it's called, but like they are popular in their own way, but none of them, like I just said, have reached the meteoric success of the Steam Deck. And when I start thinking about why that is, all of it basically points to one thing, and that is the true dominance of Steam as the de facto platform for playing PC games. So the first big factor I think you have to take into consideration with the Steam Deck that makes it so competitive compared to its competitors is the price. It's not necessarily like objectively cheap, right? Because if you want to go to the most expensive model, you're going to be paying over $600. But right now you can go get the lowest tier model, the Steam Deck LCD with 64 gigabytes of storage for just $269, which when you look at the parts that are in the device and added it all up, I'd imagine that it comes in pretty close to $300 or $350 to produce these things. But the reason Valve can sell them as cheap as they are or at a loss is because they have Steam. So if you pick up a Steam Deck right now and you wait a couple weeks for it to show up, theoretically the first thing you're going to do is either, if you don't have a gaming PC already with a full built-out Steam library, is head over to the Steam summer sale and pick up a whole bunch of games. Or if you already have a Steam library, you're going to download some games you already own, you're going to play through those, and then you're going to want to go buy some new games. So when you get to that point where you want to buy some games, you have a lot of options, right? You've got the Epic Game Store, which can be easily installed on the Steam Deck through Heroic Launcher. You can also use non-Steam launchers, which is a great script that installs pretty much every launcher out there, including Uplay, EA's app, which used to be called Origin. I don't know what they call it anymore. You know, the whole myriad of other launchers that there are out there, but you probably wouldn't do that because Steam is just a great platform to buy games, right? Like I mentioned, the summer sales going on right now. You can get games that are on your wish list or have been on there for a little while for a pretty steep discount. I'm still waiting for Persona 5 Royal Edition to hit 20 bucks, but every time a sale comes up, I go immediately to my wish list and click on that game to see if it finally has fallen to that price point. They give you a great price tracking tool just built into Steam itself. It also provides a great platform for online multiplayer. I was playing Crime Boss Rockay City, which if you bought Payday 3 for $100 to play it early like I did and missed the refund window, this is a great game to try out right now because it's Payday where you can play as Michael Madsen, and I unlocked a character that looks and sounds like Tony Soprano. So I've been playing a Payday game as Tony Soprano with my friends, and it's amazing. And we really had no trouble getting into the online multiplayer, and the entire time we were playing, I was texting my friend Ray, who runs Xbox Ready, about how the Xbox Live services were down for pretty much the entire day on the day that I did this. So yeah, there have been instances of Steam going down, but like if you compare that to like Xbox Live going down on Christmas or the insane amount of times the PlayStation Network has gone down over the past year, it's not only robust, Steam's online services, it's reliable. I can't even remember a time when I couldn't just log into Steam and play a multiplayer game, and all of that extends to the Steam Deck. So the experience you get out of using Steam on the Steam Deck gives Valve the ability to sell it as cheap as they are because they get 30% cut out of every game that's sold on Steam. So even if they're selling games at a discount, they're making massive amounts of money every time we buy games. So they can take that profit that they make from games being sold on the Steam Deck and recoup the losses or potential losses that they have by selling the Steam Deck so cheap. And as those 2 years have gone on, they've expanded the amount of Steam Decks you can get massively. So I was going to try to do this off the top of my head, but there are far too many options at this point. So if you want to get the 256 gig LCD model, which I guess you could call entry level Steam Deck, that's going to run you $399. Then you've got the 512 gigabyte OLED for $549. And then finally, you have the 1 terabyte OLED model for $649. Wow, I actually did that one from memory. That's pretty good. But right now, like I mentioned, the Steam Deck is on sale. You can get a 64 gigabyte model, which they're trying to sell their backstock of for just $296. And unlike me, you'll get a cheap SSD if you want to upgrade it later on, because when I bought mine, it was $279 for a 1 terabyte drive. And now it's so much cheaper. So that's actually a viable option. Then if you want to get a Steam Deck with a 512 gigabyte SSD, the LCD model, not the OLED, that is $381. So that's a pretty good savings right there as well. Because full price, the 256 gigabyte model is $399. So you're actually saving $10 by getting 512 gigabytes. Of course, that's going to be a launch model that they still have stock of, but that's still a pretty damn good deal. I made a video 2 videos ago called "The Steam Deck is on sale, don't buy it," and people thought I was recommending the ROG Ally. I was not. I was going to say buy the OLED model because it's worth the extra money, and I still believe that. But no matter what option you pick, you're still going to get a great price for a great product. And the cool thing is, if you take the comparable products from Asus or Lenovo, they're all astronomically more expensive because they don't have Steam. They don't have the ability to sell you games and make money back on the back end. So they have to make money on the hardware, which means you're going to pay $700 or $800 depending on what device you want to pick up. So when you talk about why the Steam Deck is so dominant, I mean, you could talk about the quality of life, you could talk about the form factor, you could talk about how it's just a great quality product, but at the end of the day, the secret weapon, the secret sauce, the thing that makes the Steam Deck as viable and competitive as it is Steam. Steam is the linchpin, the key to everything, because Valve needs to make money, and the best way to make money is to sell games. And if they make a device that is made to play Steam games, you're going to buy Steam games on that device because all of their competition from Epic and Uplay and EA is terrible. So yeah, if you've been wondering why the Steam Deck can be sold so cheap, hopefully that was a good explanation. That brings us to the second news story, which is that modding is about to get a lot easier for games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim on the Steam Deck. So right now, if you want to mod these games, your best bet is to use Mod Organizer 2. There are a lot of videos out there. I always recommend the one from Oh No, It's Alex, because while it is pretty long, it's a step-by-step process and he's very clear at explaining things. I don't want to make it seem like it's a dead simple process because I ran into quite a few errors when I was doing it, but once you get it up and running, it is a decent workaround to something like Vortex on the PC. But if you're sitting there like, why can't I just use Vortex? Up until now, you have not been able to use Vortex because there's no Linux client. Vortex, I think, is pretty solid when you're talking about downloading Nexus mods. It gives you the ability to like click a link on the website and then it opens up Vortex and installs everything through there. It also updates the mods that you're using for specific games. It even gives you the ability to launch mods with its own app. But because it's such an old app, it's kind of been built on top of itself over decades, I want to say, and it's pretty bloated. Like, I just got to be honest. It's a good piece of software, but it is kind of unwieldy. So instead of completely reworking it, what Nexus Mods has decided to do is just rebuild it from the ground up as Nexus Mods App, and Nexus Mods App has a Linux client. So it's going to remove that middleman of Mod Organizer 2 from installing mods for these games on your Steam Deck. Wow, that was a lot of, I don't know why that sentence was so difficult for me, but I think I got it out. And the cool thing is you can actually go ahead and try out the Nexus Mods app right now, but they do say it's in pre-alpha state, so I wouldn't expect it to work all that well, but I did notice they are collecting feedback from Steam Deck users. So if you do get this up and running, like you use a lot of mods in Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, make sure you give them some feedback because that will then help create it as the de facto mod client for the Steam Deck, and I just think that's pretty cool at the end of the day. And that brings us to the third news story here, which is a really cool update to the monthly tweet Valve does where they tell you the top 10 most played games for the month on the Steam Deck. They actually went ahead and created an entire backend on the Steam store that'll like real-time update the most played games on the Steam Deck. And this is not the most sold games. This is the games that are being played the most at any given time on the device. So if you want to know theoretically what games are looking, running, and playing really well on the Steam Deck, or you just got one and don't have a Steam library and you want to know what games to buy on the Steam summer sale with the intention of playing them on the Steam Deck, this source is completely invaluable. So I'm going to try something new here, a multicam setup for Deck Ready. Wow, I know I'm getting high tech down here in my basement, but I'm going to check the list out right now. Obviously, the #1 game right now on the Steam Deck is Elden Ring. It got technically worse when they updated it and added in Shadow of the Erdtree, but it's still largely a 30 FPS experience across the board. I am not shocked to see that game at number 1. Then you've got Stardew Valley, Balatro, Baldur's Gate 3, Hades 2, Fallout 4, Forza Horizon 4, Hades, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix. That's a terrible title for a game. And then finally, we've got Dave the Diver at number 10. But the cool thing is, unlike that tweet they do every month that only lists the top 10 games, you can go to the top 100 games. And there's some really good stuff on here. And I played most of these games on my Steam Deck, which I think is pretty awesome. And so this is just like a cool source to see games that are going to look and run well on your deck, which I think is great. Just giving some recommendations of games that are on sale. In that top 10, we talked about Forza Horizon 4. That game is amazing. It's my favorite Forza Horizon, except for maybe the first one. I absolutely love the map. And unlike Forza Horizon 5, you can run that game locked at 30 FPS with no stuttering, and you can play it at dynamic high settings. So it actually looks really good on the Steam Deck. I think the Ultimate Edition is like $11 right now too. So pick that up before it gets delisted. If you're someone who started Souls games with Elden Ring, definitely pick up Dark Souls Remastered. It looks and runs awesome on the Steam Deck. And it really, you know, it feels modern, which is crazy to say because it is so old, but I go back and play the original Dark Souls all the time. And out of all the Souls games, I'd say it's the one I've beaten the most. I just saw in the Steam Deck subreddit that the new update that they did that increased performance of the Steam Deck allows you to run Spider-Man Remastered at around very high settings and hold it at around 50 to 60 FPS. I haven't personally verified this, but if that's the case, that's awesome. So that's a great game to pick up if you haven't played it on PS4 or PC. I die a little bit inside when I see NBA 2K on this list because it's not the current version of 2K. It's just an updated version of the old engine that they used to use. And it's basically like a scam game, but people love playing NBA 2K. So you'd think they would make the new version for PC as well. But if you're into NBA, that's really your only option. So that's pretty cheap right now. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a really cool, more mature JRPG. I actually played it on the Nintendo Switch. That's in the top 20, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, it's actually 21 on the list, but you know, it's going up and down the list. But that's a cool game if you want a mature JRPG that's a little bit less high school influenced, I would say, than something like Persona. And then one more for good luck at 28, they've got Fallout 76. The new expansion that just came out, Skyline Valley, is awesome. I have not finished it yet. There's actually a lot of content in there. It's the most Fallout feeling expansion that they've done for that game, and it expands the map, which is great. Mr. Matty Plays, the staunch hater of Fallout 76, was even converted to the Fallout 76 side by this expansion. So if you needed any little push to give it a try because it is free, I would pick this game up while it's on sale. So yeah, I think this list is awesome. You should definitely check it out if you just recently picked up a Steam Deck and want to know what games to play. There are a ton of other lists out there. I know there's a ton of YouTubers out there who talk about this, but like, it's just so much simpler if you go on this top 100 list because that's basically removing a barrier of testing the game out in the first place, you know? Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.